Ya se despedía. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. I hope your day, your week, and your weekend have been going very well so far. In ancient times, the oracle was a source of wisdom and fortune-telling for the people. In modern times, he just gives out really good football picks. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the NFL Oracle, guys. Week 11 of the NFL season is officially upon us. I can no longer count the weeks on my hands, which means we are pretty deep into the year, which is exciting and sad at the same time. We've got a really great slate ahead of you here in week 11. And as always, guys, I've got a lot of great picks to go and share with you. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. All right, guys, with a new week of NFL football comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 12 straight bets to go and share with you guys in today's slate, as well as some parlays and teasers to close out the video. One last thing before we go ahead and dive into this week's picks, a quick little recap of how we did last week. And in our straight bet category, we actually had a pretty strong week. As you can see, 2-2 in the first and long category, 2-2 in the second and short category, and 3-1. Actually, excuse me, flip that, reverse it. 2-2 in our third and long category, 2-2 in our second and short category, and 3-1 in our first and goal category. So obviously 3-1 in our best bets. It's pretty good. Overall, we went 7-5 last week. We're now 66-60 on the year. So we are doing pretty well in the straight bet category. We've had a couple of really good weeks in a row here. The parlays and teasers did not do all that well, mainly because we had a lot of faith in the Bucs and the Bills, which obviously came back to bite us big time in the ass. So, it is what it is. It's okay. We're still up big units on the year, both the parlay and teaser category, and we are doing very well in our straight bet category. So overall, we are up big money on the year. Over 20 units profit in total. If you take parlays, teasers, and straight bets, put them all in together in one nice sandwich, we're up over 20 units profit on this NFL season so far. So let's go ahead, keep the good times rolling, do even better this week than we did last week. I got a lot of great picks. Let's go ahead and talk about them. Starting off, guys, we have our third and long category. Again, all of the picks I hand out in these videos, I do like all of the picks, but obviously there's a confidence level to these picks. There are some picks I like more than others. Third and long are the 4 picks that I still like, but obviously in terms of a confidence ranking, they're a little lower on the totem pole, which is also why I only put 3/4 of a unit, 0.75 units, on these 4 plays. So our first pick in today's video and our first pick in the third and long category comes from the Panthers Falcons game, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. I got Carolina here plus 3.5 on the spread, which I am grabbing for minus, actually plus 101 over on Novig. So actually getting this one for plus money over on Novig. But again, it's available on multiple sports books for varying odds. As always, guys, make sure to shop around for the best sportsbook odds available to you. And look, guys, I'll be the first one to admit this game is an absolute mess. 2 teams that I just can't get a read on at all. 11 weeks into the season, or 10 weeks into the season, and I still don't really know what to make of either of them. On the one hand, Carolina's 5-5 with a nice win a couple weeks ago against the Packers. A couple decent wins over the Cowboys. They beat Atlanta already once this year, 30-0, by the way. They blanked them the last time they played, shut them out. Carolina has had success against Atlanta consistently the last 2 times they played. 30-0 this year. The last time they played, January of last year, Carolina won 44-38. The first time they played last season, Atlanta had beat Carolina pretty badly. But they won 2 in their last 3. Carolina 13-6 against the spread in their last 19 games. It's a 68.4% hit rate over the last 19 games. Last week we kind of called that one, right? I said it was the first time they've been favored all year. I don't like the spot. They end up losing outright to the Saints. But that's what I mean. This is a team that can beat the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau, but then lose the next week at home to the New Orleans Saints, who had just traded away some pieces. It's tough, but Atlanta's an even weirder team. They have a win over the Buffalo Bills this year. They beat Washington. They've also they beat Minnesota. They had a tight battle with Tampa Bay earlier in the year. But I feel like over the last month, we've got a little bit more of an idea about Atlanta than we do, let's say, Carolina. Atlanta, I think we know, is not a very good team. They've lost 4 straight games now. Following that impressive Buffalo win, they lost the Niners. They got blown up by the Dolphins. They almost beat New England. And then they gave the Colts a pretty good run for their money last week in, I forget where they played. Was it Germany last week? But they've actually, that's the thing with Atlanta. Like, even though they're losing, besides the Miami loss, and I guess the Niners loss, the last 2 weeks, they played, the top 2 teams in the AFC and should have beaten New England. A missed extra point prevents that game from going to overtime. And then the Colts game, they lose in overtime. So they've played tight. And this is the thing with Atlanta. They're a tough team to figure out because they lose a lot of games, but they're also very competitive in a lot of these games. 3-point loss to Tampa Bay, 1-point loss to New England, and 6-point loss to the Colts. All one-score games against some of the best teams in the NFL. So tough spot, but ultimately I am going to side with Carolina here. Again, they've won each of the last 2 matchups. We look down below here to the matchup stats. Now, offensively, Carolina hasn't been great, but the one area they're very strong in is their run game. Guess what? Atlanta's run defense has been bad this year. Or their defense, let me rephrase that. There's not much mystery left to it now. The Panthers' strength is their running game. Guess where the Falcons' weakness is on defense? Their run defense. 29th in the NFL, giving up close to 150 rushing yards per game. Their pass defense is very good, but guess what? The Panthers, not a very good passing team anyways. Atlanta's defense started the year off very strong, and then now have kind of gone to what I thought they were going to be, which is a mediocre at best defense. On the flip side, you just never know what you're getting with this Falcons offense, and Panthers defense has been better than expected this year. Ultimately, I'll take the hook there with 3.5 points, which I think is important. You know, I think even if Atlanta wins this game, I don't think they're going to win this game by much. The Falcons have only covered the spread of 3.5 in 33% of their games this year against the Bills, the Commanders, and the Vikings. Again, a weird group of teams they've done it against. But, you know, they've obviously failed to cover the spread in a lot of their games. I think Carolina, as much as I'm not a huge fan of the Panthers, there are more numbers supporting the Panthers covering here than it is Atlanta covering. Again, for plus money, you really can't beat that value. All right, guys, my second pick in today's video, my second pick in the third and long category, we have Packers at Giants, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. I'm going Giants plus 9.5 for one reason and one reason only. The New York Giants are starting Jameis Winston, and they fired Brian Daboll. Now, we see this a lot in the NFL when you fire the head coach. Now, not always, but when you do fire the head coach, a lot of the times, the next week when the interim takes over, there's this kind of rally cry in the room of like, let's come together, let's get this game. And they either win the game outright or at least cover. So Green Bay is not the best of teams. You know, they're a good, not great team right now. I think their offense is really holding them back. You have a Giants pass rush here that can put some pressure on Jordan Love. But for me, honestly, it's the fact that you put the gunslinger Jameis Winston out there. Anything can happen. You could be down 30 and you may not be safe because he can do anything. It's again, there's not really a lot of numbers that are going to support my claim here because the Giants, they're not a very good team. They fired their head coach for a reason. 25th in scoring offense, 26th in scoring defense. You know, like I said, there's not a lot of metrics going to help me here. The Packers do have an elite defense, but I just think you put Jameis Winston behind an offensive line that's been playing a little bit better lately, and you give Jameis time in the pocket to go ahead and make some throws. Is it going to work out? Maybe not, but I think plus 9.5 for that value of minus 140 over on Novig. It's a lot of points for the Packers to cover. Green Bay can't even cover the regular spread, let alone an extended spread here. They're 33% overall this year, but just 22% at this line of minus 9.5. They've only won 2 games this year by 10 or more points. They beat the Steelers on Sunday Night Football by 10, and week 1 versus the Lions, they beat them by 14. So there's only 2 wins this year of 10 or more points, and now you got Jameis Winston here starting with an interim head coach. I'm not saying the Giants are winning this game. I'm not going to say it's going to be a pretty game either. I just think New York here in this spot with Jameis in there, the energy that he brings, the type of quarterback that he is with the interim head coach, I think the Giants plus 9.5 has a shot here. Again, there's a reason it's in the third and long category, not the first and goal. It's not my most confident of picks of the week, but I do like the play a lot here. My third play in today's video, my third play in the third and long category is the Bears at Vikings game, 1 p.m. kickoff. And I'm going with the Vikings team total over here, 24.5. Instead of messing with the spread or the in general total and trying to figure out what version of the Vikings defense is going to show up this week, I'm taking the one unit that I know should have success here, and that is the Vikings offense here. Team total over 24.5 points. We're grabbing it for minus 118 over on FanDuel. The numbers obviously not very good. Just a 33% hit rate this season, averaging 22.33 points per game this season. Like I said, the numbers are not very good, but we have seen them already once this year against the Bears score 27 points. And by the way, they've actually cashed this over in 3 consecutive games against the Bears dating back to last season. Now, obviously, those 2 games last year with Sam Darnold, a little bit of a different circumstance here. But again, week 1 with J.J. McCarthy, they scored 27 points and beat the Bears to kick off the season. And we've seen them play some lesser defenses like the Bengals, and the Lions defense isn't terrible, but they're not, I wouldn't call them necessarily elite. And you've seen them score some points in those matchup spots. So I think they are capable of scoring. It's a matter of who they're playing. And this is a very good defensive matchup. We know the Bears defense is not very good. 27th in the NFL in terms of points allowed per game, giving up 27.4. So this is a really low scoring defense. We've seen a lot of teams have field days scoring on this Bears defense. 26th in passing yards allowed, 24th in rushing yards allowed. And if we refer to the dashboard over on Guy Boston Sports, you see overall in terms of DVOA, the Bears 28th in defense, 26th against the pass, 25th against the run. So kind of all these numbers make sense to me. The Bears defense is not very good, one of the worst in the NFL. The Vikings offense isn't that great either, but their rushing offense at least has something. And the hope is that J.J. McCarthy can kind of get things going here against a pretty weak Bears defense. Now, the Giants last time out only scored 20, but you see here the Bengals 42, the Ravens 30. You have seen some teams go lower here, but again, I do think in this spot, Minnesota should be able to go ahead and score a healthy amount of points. So I'll take the over here for minus 118. All right, guys, my fourth pick in today's video, my final pick in the third and long category. We have Bucs at Bills, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. Should be a pretty good game. I'm rocking with the under here, 48.5, which I'm grabbing for minus 144 over on Novik, best odds available to me. Admittedly, at first glance, these are two teams that have actually cashed the over, especially this line of 48.5, far more than they've cashed the under. Now, typically it's because they're both offenses are elite. You have Baker Mayfield on the Bucs side, Josh Allen on the Bills side, 2 elite quarterbacks, 2 elite offenses. However, both defenses have strengths and weaknesses, but in this game, the strengths kind of go against the opposite team's strengths. So let's talk about it a little bit here. The Bills, for example, where does this offense succeed? This offense succeeds in running the football. The number 1 rushing offense in the NFL right now, averaging over 150 yards per game. Well, where is the Bucs' strength defensively? Rushing, okay? 11th best run defense in the NFL, giving up just about 100 yards per game. So you have elite run defense against elite rushing offense. They should be able to slow the Bills down a bit. Even if the Bills have some success, the Bills' defense is good enough to slow them down. On the flip side here, where has been the Bucs' strength offensively? The passing game with Baker Mayfield, 14th best in the NFL in terms of passing yards per game. Where is the strength for the Bills defensively? Their pass defense, 3rd best pass defense in the NFL this year in terms of yards per game. Also add the fact that both of these teams have just been plain underperforming. The Bills obviously an embarrassing loss last week to the Dolphins where they struggled to score and they struggled to get stops, but I think they should be better defensively this week. On the flip side, you have a Bucs team that they're coming off a loss as well. In the last couple of weeks, you haven't really seen them play too well. They had that loss to the Lions where they only scored 9 points. They beat the Saints. I was actually at that game. They won, and they won by 20, but if you actually watch the game offensively, it was not that impressive for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They should have won by a lot more. They should have played even better, but they didn't. And then the Patriots game, I thought they were going to win that game, and then honestly, they very much disappointed in that spot. So you have two teams in shaky form where, again, both of their strengths offensively can be negated by the strengths of the defense. I just don't think this is going to be the shootout that most people would expect. For 48.5 points, now the actual total was 46.5. I'm adding a couple points to make it a little bit more valuable for us here. But I think the under at 48.5 is a good play and a valuable play at that. All right, guys, so our first group of 4 picks are now in the books. We now move on to the second category, which is second and short. Again, these are the picks I like a little bit more than the last group. So these next 4 picks I'm going to share with you guys, my confidence a little higher in these picks. We're going to put a full unit on each of these 4 picks. They're not my favorite, though. Those are yet to come, but I still like these picks a whole lot. All right, guys, so our 5th pick in today's video and our first pick in the second and short category, we have to go a little bit forward in time to Monday Night Football. 8:15 p.m. kickoff. Now, normally, when I adjust the lines, it's usually to make it more favorable, right? I take a line from 3.5 to 1.5, 7.5 to 5.5, right? I give myself more value. I take some points away. In this circumstance, I am so confident in the Dallas Cowboys in beating the Las Vegas Raiders that I'm going in the opposite direction. I'm adding points to the spread to make it better and from a value standpoint. Harder to hit, but more units potentially won here. So the Cowboys' actual spread is 3.5 points versus the Raiders. I'm adding an extra field goal and making it minus 6.5, which I'm grabbing right now for plus 145 over on ESPN Bet. The Cowboys are off the bye week. They have an extra week of rest, an extra week to prepare. They obviously had a very busy trade deadline. We're going to get to see Quentin Williams and Logan Wilson and some of the new additions they made in the last several weeks of the trade deadline go ahead and make their Cowboys debut. It makes it a lot easier to implement these guys when you have a bye week. They didn't have to just rush into the game. They had more practice time, more time to prepare, to implement the new defensive pieces. I think Dallas is going to be a much better team with those new guys in tow. And even if they didn't have Logan Wilson, even if they didn't add Quentin Williams, I still like the Cowboys a heck of a lot more than I do the Raiders. Although they did play, credit to the Raiders, they did play a solid defensive game against the Broncos and kept the game tight. That was one of the ugliest offensive performances I've ever seen, which has been something I've said about a lot of Raiders games this year. You just can't convince me the Raiders have a shot in this one, in my opinion. I'm done trying to find the silver lines of the Raiders. The only positive is their defense is better than expected, but it's still not a good defense. That result is more to do with the Broncos offense than it is the Raiders defense. Offensively, the Raiders are a dumpster fire. And again, I know the Cowboys defense is bad, but they should be at least a little bit better with the new additions. In a shootout with the Cowboys and the Raiders, Dak Prescott should easily prevail in this spot. So that's why I like 3.5. Obviously a good spot, but I'm actually calling my shot here and saying, you know what? Screw 3.5. Let's add a field goal. Let's make it 6.5. I think they win this game by at least 7, if not more. This game could be a blowout in the favor of the Cowboys. This just feels like the typical, kind of rally game for Dallas, right? The last time we saw them, they lost at home to the Cardinals, a very disappointing result. They come off the bye week. They win a game like this on Monday Night Football, prime time for the whole world to see. They smack the Raiders. And then all the Cowboys fans, all of America goes, wait a second, Dallas, hold on a second. Could this be a thing? You see First Take, they'll be talking about if the Cowboys are a real contender or not. Skip Bayless will have a 25-minute video on Twitter about it. And around we go, right? I think Cowboys roll in this game. So for plus 145, great value. All they have to do is win by a touchdown, which isn't that crazy against this Raiders team. All right, guys, my 6th pick in today's video, my 2nd pick in the second and short category. We have Seahawks at Rams, in my opinion, the game of the week, although Eagles-Lions makes a good argument. 4:05 p.m. kickoff here, Seahawks-Rams. I'm going Seattle plus 3.5. I think this is a coin flip game. You're giving me the hook there at 3.5 points. I'll take Seattle, which I'm grabbing for minus 113 over on Novig. We jump over the dashboard over on Guy Boston Sports. These are literally 1 and 2 in the NFL in terms of total DVOA. The 2 best teams in the league so far this year from a numbers perspective. You see a lot of good data. The one weak area for Seattle, their rushing offense hasn't been great, but both these teams very, very strong, but they're even in a lot of ways. They're both elite defenses, both elite offenses. Last season, they split the season series. The last time they played January, the Seahawks beat the Rams in LA 30-25. The time before that, the Rams beat the Seahawks 26-20. They kind of go back and forth here, but yeah, I think it's a coin flip game. I don't think either side has any clear advantage, except for maybe the Rams run defense against the Seahawks rush offense. As we saw, they're not a really great running team, Seattle. This is the biggest test of the year for both of these sides. And I think for the Rams, I don't want to say Seattle's more proven, in my opinion, because they both have played some good teams. Like the Rams' 2 big wins with the Eagles and the Colts, but like the Eagles game, the Eagles were kicking a field goal to win, and then the kick is blocked, return for a touchdown. It looks better than it actually was. The Eagles were about to win, and the Eagles also blew that game. They were leading most of the game, and then they almost still won it at the end. Actually, might be getting that wrong. That was a few weeks ago. Maybe the Rams were leading and they blew it. Either way, the Eagles were kicking a field goal to win the game, and then it gets blocked, return for a touchdown. The Colts game, they win, but the Colts had dropped a couple of key plays. Donnie Mitchell, who's no longer on the Colts anymore, kind of cost them there. So, yeah, there's still wins over good teams, and give them the credit they're due, but they also, I don't want to call them fluky wins, but lucky wins, where, though both those teams had real opportunities to beat the Rams, and the narrative would completely change had they had done that. Since then, they lose to the Niners. Not a great result. They do rally and beat them the last time. Obviously, last week they played. But, I think their wins are a little bit less impressive in comparison to Seattle. Although even Seattle, they haven't really beaten anybody great themselves. So, I don't know. I think they're both really good teams. The point being, both these teams, this is their first real big, true test of the season. And I do like Seattle to at least cover. I think the Rams could win. Obviously, at home field at SoFi doesn't really mean much. But again, it just comes down to this game being a coin flip. And if you're giving me a coin flip game with 2 evenly stacked teams, I'll take the plus 3.5 and get the points there. All right, guys, next up, our 3rd pick in the second and short category, our 7th pick overall. We have Chargers at Jaguars, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. I'm taking the Chargers here minus 2.5, which I'm grabbing for minus 120 over on Novig. My doubts with the Chargers are still very much there. I'm worried about the offensive line stuff. I'm worried about some things with the offense. But this is not a game where I'm too concerned. This is a Jaguars team that started off very hot. They are starting to sort of trend in the wrong direction. A lot of it is because of injuries. They lose Travis Hunter for the season now. They've had injuries to the wide receiver room. They still don't have a great offensive line. You see the last 4 games, the Jaguars have failed to cover the spread. They lost to Seattle. They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Texans. They did beat the Raiders, but they narrowly beat the Raiders there. You can see the Jaguars of late. They just have not been playing as well. Now you have the Chargers coming to town, coming off a strong Sunday Night Football win over the Steelers. Again, it's just hard for me to go ahead and take much in the stock of the Jaguars. Although they are, according to this insight, 7-3 in their last 10 games versus top 10 scoring defenses, which is impressive. But ultimately, the Jaguars offense to me is just not something I can trust right now. They're not great. They're just not a great offense. I also just don't trust the Jaguars pass defense, which is 20th in the NFL in terms of DVOA, against this Chargers passing offense, which has been very good all year long. Like I said, there's just not a lot. The one area, I guess, the Jaguars have a decent rushing offense. The Chargers run defense hasn't been all that great. But like I said, I think I would rather take the better quarterback here, which is Justin Herbert, the better coach, which is Jim Harbaugh, and that's kind of all you need to know for this game. Because again, I don't think the Jaguars on either side of the ball are talented enough to go ahead and beat up on this Chargers team. So give me the Chargers -2.5. Like I said, it could be a big letdown spot off of a big primetime win. But this pick is more about fading the Jaguars than it is loving the Chargers. I'm selling my stock on the Jaguars team right now. They had a very good start, but injuries and some underperformance from Trevor Lawrence has led to this result. And again, they could have won the Texans game last week. Maybe that changes the narrative, but I haven't been all that impressed since the Chiefs game with this Jaguars team. So give me the Chargers here, -2.5. All right, guys, my 8th pick in today's video and my 4th and final pick in the second and short category comes from the Chiefs-Broncos game, 4:25 p.m. kickoff. I'm going with the Broncos here, +5.5 on the spread, which I am grabbing for -129 over on Novig. Again, the actual spread itself is 3.5 points. I'm adding a couple extra points to give me a little extra space for a little extra room for error, if you will. A little extra room for error with the Broncos. They've covered the spread of +5.5 in every game this year. Now, they're only a 40% cover rate in general. They have not lost by more than 5 points in any game this season. The Broncos also 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games at home. So some clear advantage. If you watch H2H, which by the way, if you haven't, what are you doing? Go ahead and check that video out, the video that myself and Ev do every single week here on the channel, where we go head to head and give our favorite NFL plays of the week. I gave Broncos money line as a play. I'm not going to give the money line here. I'll take the spread and be a little safer here on the Oracle. But I think the Broncos have a good chance to win outright. The Chiefs, not all that impressive this year. I have a lot of question marks, and now you're going up against the Broncos defense that's very, very good. The one concern, obviously, in this game being the fact that Denver's offense has been terrible this season. I've been waiting and waiting every week for this offense to kind of wake up. And from a numbers perspective, they aren't terrible. 17th in points per game, 18th in passing yards per game, 9th in rushing yards, top 15 in yards per play. They have a very good offensive line. So there are some decent metrics here, but if the eye test, you actually watch the Broncos offense like you did versus the Raiders on Thursday Night Football last week, it's not a good offense. It's just not. And this is a pretty damn good Chiefs defense. It really comes down to, what defense can make the extra plays, and I do think the Broncos defense is the best unit on the field. I think the Broncos offense can be good enough to, at the very least, make that 1 or 2 plays to win the game. They have, obviously, the best home field advantage in the NFL at Mile High Stadium, but the Chiefs are off a bye week, so they have the extra week to rest, an extra week of preparation here. The Broncos do have some extended rest, though, playing on Thursday night, so they do get a couple extra days in themselves. So I don't know. It's a tough one here, but I do think the Broncos defense, as you can see all year long, has been good enough to keep them in literally every game this season. They've been on a really great win streak of late, so I'll rock with Denver here, +5.5. I know it's risky because the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and it's still Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, but I do think at Mile High, Sean Payton, this Broncos defense, just hang around and keep it close. We have ourselves a cover here. All right, guys, we have 4 picks left in today's video. We now move on to the first and goal category. First and goal. These are my 4 favorite picks from a straight bet category in this week's slate. These are my favorite picks of the week. Let's go ahead and break them down. My 9th pick overall, my first pick in the first and goal category, comes from the Texans-Titans game, 1 p.m. kickoff. I'm going with the Houston Texans here, -5.5 on the spread, which I'm grabbing for -109 over on Novig. Look, I don't care who's playing quarterback in this game for the Texans. You could put yourself, you could put me, you could put your grandfather out there, and I still would probably rock with the Texans to cover this spread. This pick is about the Texans defense against the abysmal Titans offense. It's not about who's playing quarterback. I don't care if it's Davis Mills or CJ Stroud, whoever's playing quarterback, and Stroud obviously won last week. Davis Mills won last week, against the Jaguars. A better team than this, so I trust, even if Davis Mills is starting again, which I don't believe he is. We can double check on that right now and just see if Stroud is back. I believe he probably should be. Let's see. He hasn't been practicing. So so it's probably going to be Davis Mills. It's trending towards Davis Mills, which, again, he won last week. I'm not really concerned. He has a lot of starting experience in the NFL. If anything, honestly, the Davis Mills offense looked better than the CJ Stroud offense last week. So, I'm fine with Davis Mills. Again, it's about this Texans defense, the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. It's the last scoring offense in the NFL. You literally have the best and the worst going toe-to-toe here. they're giving up 4.2 sacks per game. I think Cam Ward's going to be running for his life. I think it's going to be a really long day for the Titans, a really bad day for the Titans. Houston -5.5 or -109. You could honestly go even higher to 7.5, 8.5, 9.5. I think Houston wins big in this spot. So give me the Texans. By the way, Titans only 11% cover rate at +5.5 this year. They played once this year already, and the Texans won 26-0. So anything above 0 is an improvement for the Titans, but I don't know how much above 0 they're going to be able to do. 26-0 the last time they played this year back in late September. The only game was the game they won versus Arizona. Every other game besides that, they have lost by 6 or more points. I don't think it's going to change here. Houston -5.5. This might be my favorite play in my lock of the week. All right, guys, next up we have Ravens at Browns, 4:25 p.m. kickoff. Kind of a similar thought process as the last game. Not so much like the defense versus offense thing, but more so like we saw this team already kill this team once this year. Baltimore obviously trending in the right direction on a good little run here with Lamar back. They played earlier this year in the second week of the season or third week of the season, and the Ravens killed them 41-17. Baltimore has the last 2 times they've played has beat them by at least 25 points in each of the last 2 games, or 24 points, excuse me, in each of the last 2 games. Now, granted, there was a game earlier last year where Cleveland beat Baltimore at home. But again, I think Baltimore, they've already destroyed them once this year. The Browns aren't, I think, better than they were at this point. They're worse. The Browns are 3-9 against the spread in the last 12 games versus bottom 10 scoring defense. So even though the Ravens defense has been shaky, it doesn't really matter here. I know the Browns defense is good, but I think they struggle with a quarterback like Lamar. Lamar's got a pretty good track record versus Cleveland. The Browns are not very good. They also just played, they lost to the Jets last week, which was a very embarrassing result here for Cleveland. So I don't see it getting much better. Baltimore, again, they've been on a very good run here. They beat the Bears by 14. They beat the Dolphins by 22, and then they beat the Vikings by 8. So they've won by 8 or more points, 3 straight games, covered the spread, 3 straight games. Now you got the Browns in Cleveland. I don't think it's going to be much of a different result here. By a touchdown, again, the actual spread's 7.5. Took a point off here, but -144 for them to win by 7. They won by 24 last time, so that would obviously be a big downgrade to only win by 7 points. They should go ahead and do that very easily. All right, guys, our 11th pick in today's video, our 3rd pick in the first and goal category. We have Bengals at Steelers, another AFC North showdown here. I'm going Steelers here -4.5, which I'm grabbing for -119 over on Novig. Mike Tomlin off a loss, we know, especially at home. The numbers with him are obviously very, very good. These teams played not too long ago, a few weeks back, and the Bengals obviously won at home. It's 33-31. I do think the Steelers are going to go ahead and play better this time around. The Steelers actually have struggled a lot versus the Bengals the last 2 times they played. 2 straight losses against Cincinnati. That being said, these 2 teams typically do split the season series. As you saw last year, the Steelers won the first one, the Bengals won the second one. This year, the Bengals won the first one. I think the Steelers won the second one. The Steelers, by the way, 8-3 against the spread in their last 11 games at home. Again, that last time they played, the Steelers defense was a train wreck there. I do think it should play better this time around. How much better? We'll see. But again, you also saw the Steelers offense have a lot of success against this Bengals defense, scoring 31 points and having a chance towards the end of the game to win. So I do think Pittsburgh is the play here at home. Mike Tomlin off a loss, all those numbers. We've talked about it many times on the show this year. But I think the Steelers are definitely the play in this spot. And my 12th and final play in the straight bet category, we have Niners Cardinals, 4:05 p.m. kickoff. I'm going with the Niners here, -2.5 on the spread. The actual spread being 3.5 points. Subtracting a point from the spread, bringing it down to 2.5, avoiding the hook. Taking the Niners at 2.5 points, which we're grabbing for -140 over on BetMGM. Brock Purdy's back, which obviously is huge for the Niners. Even if it is Mac Jones, I probably would still lean Niners in this spot. Arizona, they had a great win over Dallas, and I said, hey, they played a couple good games in a row. They hung around with the Colts, hung around with the Packers. They beat the Cowboys. I said, hey, they're looking good. And then they got absolutely demolished by the Seahawks last week. Now they're coming back to play the Niners. These 2 teams have played once this year, and the Cardinals did lose by 1 to the 49ers. Look, I'm going to be honest, there's not a lot of good numbers supporting the Niners. They're 6-13 in the last 19 games against the spread. The last time they played, the Niners only won by 1. The Cardinals have actually covered the spread of +2.5 in 3 straight games against the Niners going back to last year. In general this season, 56% hit rate at +2.5, 56% hit rate overall this season. It's really about Brock Purdy being back. Him being back, the last time they played, I believe Mac Jones was the starter. Having Brock Purdy back does give this team an extra boost against a Cardinals defense that isn't all that good. The interesting thing will be to see how does Jacoby Brissett and this Cardinals offense rebound after an embarrassing show last week against Seattle. I just think the Niners here in this spot, I think they're the better play. I think they're the better coach team. They have the better quarterback. They have the better, even right now, despite the fact of all their injuries, they have the better offense. They are getting a little bit healthier on offense. They have McCaffrey, they have Kittle, they have most of their guys on offense back. They still don't have Ayuk, which I don't know what's going on there. And defensively, like they haven't, with the injuries they've had, they've been playing okay defensively. Now, the last time we saw them, they got rinsed by the Rams, but they had, beaten the Giants the week before by 10. They beat the Falcons 2 weeks before that. So it's been a hit or miss year for the Niners. But in this spot, I trust the Niners a little bit more than I do the Cardinals. So give me the Niners here at minus 140. All right, guys, that concludes our 12 straight bets for today's video. We now move on to the parlay and teaser portion, starting off with our parlays for this week. By the way, we just hit the 30-minute mark in today's video. So if you guys are still watching at this point in the video, please comment 30 down below. As always, guys, I appreciate those who watch through each and every single video here on the channel all the way through. We put a lot of hard work between myself, Evan, Trey into these videos, so those who do stick around and watch through, it really does mean a lot to us. So comment 30 down below if you're still rocking with me here at the 30-minute mark in today's video. And one last thing, guys, before we do hop into the parlays and teasers, a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, Novig. Guys, if you have not dabbled into peer-to-peer exchanges, you are absolutely missing out. Using Novig allows you to get unbeatable prices and lines on just about every game. Why, you may ask? Because as other users setting the lines, they're setting the odds. You are competing with the other users, not the big books. Peer-to-peer is growing at a crazy rate, and you don't want to be late to this. Sign up for Novig today. Use the link down below in the description as well as in the pinned comment, and get a nice sign-up bonus when betting $5 of $50. That's right. As a new user of Novig, you sign up today with our link. You spend $5, you get $50 in bonus bets to go ahead and tail. As you can see, a lot of the picks in today's video, we use Novig, so you can use those bonus $50 to ride a couple of these picks, or a pick, whatever you prefer, in this video. So one more time, guys, check our link down below in the description or the pinned comment. Shout out to Novig for being a proud sponsor of Guy Boston Sports. And now, without further ado, let's finish off strong here with our parlays and teasers. All right, guys, as always, I like to use DraftKings for our parlays. Our first parlay of the video is a 4-leg moneyline parlay. It's my favorites of the week. We're taking the 4 favorites I love the most here. So we have the Texans money line, the Ravens money line, the Cowboys money line, and the Steelers money line. I expect all of these teams to win in these games. And, just taking the 4 favorites I like the most, you parlay them all together. It's a 4-leg parlay of plus 253 odds over on DraftKings. Next up, we have our Hungry Dog parlay. It's a 3-leg moneyline parlay. All my favorite underdog spots, or the spots where I could see the underdogs winning in the best positions. We have the Bucs money line, the Commanders money line, and the Bears money line. You parlay all 3 together, and you get a parlay of plus 1,497 odds. The Bears are 6-3. They should be able to win that game outright. The Bucs, obviously, in the Bills, it's a coin flip game, and the Commanders, Dolphins, both coin flip games. But you give me plus money in coin flip games, you parlay them all together, it's definitely worth our time here. That's our second parlay in today's video. And our third and final parlay, guys, I don't really have a name. The Big Bonanza, let's call it. It's just picking a bunch of spreads I really like here, throwing them all together, and we pray, right? We pray. 6-leg parlay. We have Steelers minus 5.5, Texans minus 5.5, Chargers minus 3, Bucs plus 5.5, Seahawks plus 3.5, and Cowboys minus 3.5. You parlay all 6 together, you get a parlay of plus 4,699 odds. You hit all 6 of these picks, you're up big. And again, they're not that crazy. They're just straight bets, and honestly, this one, I altered this one a little bit, but this one, and this one, I gave 5 of these 6 as straight bets in our play. So if we just have a good week and hit our picks, we should be in a good spot here. So 6-leg parlay plus 4,699 odds. All right, guys, starting off with our teasers, we have a simple 3-leg teaser, 7-point tease plus 120 odds. We have the Packers. Now they're even. They just have to win the game by any score. They cover. Texans plus 1.5. They can even lose to Tennessee now, which they won't do. But if they happen to, as long as they don't lose by more than 1, we're fine. And then Niners plus 4. Even if they do happen to lose to Arizona, keep it within a field goal or keep it within 4 points, and we're good to go. Next up, we have our total tease, a 3-leg teaser, 10-point tease, minus 120 odds. We're adding or subtracting 10 points to 3 totals that I like a lot here. So we have the over in Bears Vikings from 48.5 to 38.5. We have the under in Texans Titans from 37.5 to 47.5, and the Bengals Steelers from 48.5 to 38.5. So those are our 3 totals. So over 30.5 in Bears Vikings, under 47.5 in Texans Titans, and over 38.5 in Bengals Steelers. Again, 10-point teaser, 3-leg tease, minus 120 odds. Next up, another 3-leg teaser, 10-point tease, minus 120 odds. We have the Commanders at plus 12.5. I think the Dolphins, a big letdown spot after that big win over the Bills last week. As long as Washington keeps within, 12.5, don't get blown up by more than 2 touchdowns, we're good to go here. Bucs plus 15.5. They can even lose the game by 2 touchdowns to Buffalo. As long as they keep within those 2 touchdowns, they're good. And same thing, Seattle plus 13.5. All teams, I think, honestly have good chances to win the games outright. As long as they keep it within 2 touchdowns, we should be good here. 3-leg teaser, 10-point tease, minus 120 odds. Next up, guys, this one is a 3-leg teaser, 6-point tease, plus 140 odds. I call this a not so necessary tease because honestly, I could bet all 3 of these straight up as they are, and I like them. But we'll take a 6-point teaser for plus 140 odds. Ravens minus 1.5. Again, just basically win the game. Cowboys plus 2.5. Even if they somehow, by the grace of God, lose this one, just keep it within 3. And then Steelers, just win the game and you're good. So 3-leg teaser, 6-point tease, plus 140 odds. All right, guys, this one's our big money tease. A 5-leg teaser, 6-point tease, plus 333 odds. Again, we're just basically taking a touchdown off of everything. So we have Panthers plus 9.5, Seahawks plus 9.5, Broncos plus 9.5, Lions plus 8.5, and Packers minus 1. Green Bay just win, and the other teams just kind of keep it competitive. I don't know. All the spreads indicate there are not going to be too many blowouts this week. I could be completely wrong on that. But in the case of the Seahawks, the Broncos, the Lions, those are all very good teams, just tough matchups. As long as they don't get blown out, which they shouldn't, we should be good to go. The Carolina one scares me a little bit because I do think they are the team that has the most potential to get blown out. But again, for plus 333, take a gamble on that one. And then finally, guys, our final pick in today's video, we have the big tease. 4-leg teaser, 13-point tease, minus 140 odds. We got Packers plus 6. They can now lose the game as long as they don't lose by a touchdown or more. We're good. Texans plus 7.5. They can even lose by a touchdown now, and they're good. Ravens plus 5.5. They're not going to lose that game, but if they do, keep it within 6. And then Cowboys plus 9.5. Even if the Raiders do win that game, do you really see the Raiders winning a football game in 2025 by 10 points or more? I don't think so. So that's our final pick in today's video. 13-point teaser, 4-leg tease, minus 140. Comment big tease down below. And if this teaser hits, one lucky commenter wins a free $25 Amazon gift card. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. We'll be back next week with another edition of the NFL Oracle. But until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your weekend. Let's go ahead and make some money.